I'm a man on fire, walking through your street.
Hello guys, here's Andreas Schaffner from Bike Across the World. I'm starting today a new series. It will be on podcast and on YouTube. And in this series we will be interviewing people which are today on the road, which are biking across long distances. And our first interview guest will be Javier Gonzalez Colon. He is now biking from California, US down to Ushuaia, Argentina. At the moment he's at a place called Mulege in Baja California. He went all through the desert in about 105 Fahrenheit degree, and it took his toll on him, but he was very happy then to see the Sea of Cortez. He's telling you something about love bubbles, and we hear also how mushrooms get on the gourmet tables of the United States of America. So let's listen in. Thanks for getting to us and listening or watching this video. And I leave you the links. On the one hand of Javier Gonzalez Colon, his Instagram account. And then I leave you also the links of the podcast series where you can get them. So, see you there. Hey.
Hey.
Nice hammock.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfectly. Hey, that's fantastic.
Oh, okay.
It's working.
Yeah.
So where are you now?
So, I am in a village called Mulege in Mexico.
Yep.
In Baja.
In Baja California, okay. So you haven't gone yet to the other side, to Mazatlan or anywhere else?
No, not yet. That's coming up. It's just the heat has been pretty tough in Baja.
Yeah.
It's slowed me down quite a lot.
I saw it. I saw also kind of your weather information today. So I think you're a bit relieved with the thunderstorm, right?
Yeah. Well, I was going to ride in this storm, but then I thought, well, the next 4 days are good, so I can get big miles tomorrow and the next couple days. So I'll just take another rest.
Yeah. But are you normally used to this heat? Or is it kind of really a total abnormal heat that you have now to your normal...
Well, 104 Fahrenheit is pretty intense. I think that may be the hottest I've ever ridden in.
Okay.
Because there was no wind, and I've been in very hot temperatures in Thailand and in Morocco, but this was something unreal.
Yeah.
It was more intense.
Yeah. Wow, my admiration. Let me check a little bit something, because I'm not sure if I'm recording you on the screen. I have tons of... If you see my setup, it looks pretty simple from your view, but if you see the setup behind you, you get crazy. So
that's fine. Go ahead.
So now I'm back on recording. Now it's recording the screen. So now I should be fine with everything. So
okay.
That's good. So I looked a little bit on your Instagram account, and I think it's a very funny Instagram account. I loved the story. I loved the most that I saw there is when I think you were cycling down from Seattle at the West Coast, and then for whatever reason you kind of went to a motel which wasn't anymore a motel, and you had some people who had meth which were dancing around, and you told this story about the mushrooms. I thought it was kind of these stories that are totally fascinating. They are a bit outworldish.
Yeah.
So I guess you hope for more.
Yeah, that was...
Go ahead.
What was that?
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, that day we were warned by some locals that the area had a lot of meth addicts. And I was riding with a guy I met on the road, and we weren't familiar with meth addicts, and I don't know any, and I never seen a lot of them in a group. But the city we arrived in, I think 80% of the population was probably affected by meth. So the whole city was just zombies.
Yeah.
And when we rode in, I actually asked for directions from a local guy, and he was high on something, most likely meth. And he told us, oh yeah, you don't want to go into the city. The city's full of meth heads.
Yeah.
And I looked at my buddy, and I looked at him, and I thought, well, you're on meth, so you're warning us about people like you. And he says, yeah, don't go in the city. You should stay out here. So he gave us a suggestion of where to camp, and then we crossed the street, and I saw that motel, and it was completely empty, all boarded up, and it just looked horrible. And yeah, there was a one table and a guy sitting there with a table and a scale. And I'm staring across the parking lot at this guy, and nobody's around. So I rode my bicycle up there, and as I rode up, a van pulls up, and out comes a guy with a big basket of mushrooms.
Yeah.
Handpicked from the wild. And so he lays them on the table, and then the guy starts to weigh them, and he pays them like $60. So I asked the guy where he got the mushrooms, and he says, oh, in the woods. They grow wild. And so when the guy leaves, I asked the purchaser, the guy, he looked like a drug addict. And he goes, oh, yeah. He says meth addicts, they make the best pickers for mushrooms because they're very, very focused. And they could be out there for the entire day and not get tired, and they will find the mushrooms.
Okay. So,
he buys the mushrooms,
go ahead.
and then he sells them to high-end restaurants across the U.S.
Yeah, I got that part of the story, yeah. We have also a mountain here nearby, which is called Rigi, and somewhere probably in September or October, there are also tons of mushrooms around. So, yeah, not that this is my business idea, but it sounds pretty weird.
Well, if you feed people meth, they become very good mushroom hunters.
So when I tracked down on Instagram, I think you started your journey now on the 28th of April, is that right?
Yeah, I did. I was going to wait for May 1st.
Yeah.
But I got impatient and I just started earlier.
Yeah. Why May 1st? Because another guy who I was also asking if he makes an interview exactly started on the 1st of May. And he's now going from Dublin to Delhi. Why? Is it anything special about May 1st or is this just occasional?
Yeah. Oh, no. There's definitely something special. So I lived in Denmark for 8.5 years. And May 1st is Workers' Day.
Okay.
And most of Europe is Workers' Day.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to begin kind of a celebration on May 1st because I won't be working for the next 2 years. So I thought it'd be a good time to start May 1st and just have that as my kind of the symbol of, in celebration of Workers' Day, I'm taking 2 years off to cycle around.
Okay. So the time you're giving yourself until you get to Argentina will be until 2 years in advance, right?
Well, I was initially thinking 1 year,
Yep.
but as I'm meeting people on the road, everyone says that some people I've met started in Ushuaia and they came north, and they told me they haven't met anyone who has gotten to Ushuaia who's done it in less than a year and a half.
Okay.
So they said, expect delays. Maybe you might end up, doing something else. They said you'd never know.
Okay.
So just give it at least a year and a half to 2 years.
Okay. Yeah, I'm probably more on the ambitious side. I think I'm going to do it in 3.5 months, but you will teach me right.
God. Wow, I just think you'll miss so much, especially the interactions with people.
Yeah.
If you go fast.
Yeah.
But
yeah, let's see. I mean, as soon as biking is too much, then probably I at least I will switch to a bus. Or hitchhike or something like that. I'll see what I do.
Yeah, I had to take a hitchhike in the desert. I was stuck. It was 104 degrees, and there was no wind, and I felt like I was cooking. So I I hitchhiked, and I took 10 miles to get to the next city because I just couldn't do it. That day I drank 11 liters in about 3 hours.
Wow.
And I left the last city, and I had to go 20 miles to get to the next one from that city to get any beverages. So halfway in between there, about an hour in, I realized, okay, I'm going to be out of water, and this is going to turn to hell real quick, so I might as well get a ride.
Yeah.
So I did that, and another time I needed to get a ride because the friend that I started the ride with, he had a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
And that was really tough.
Yeah.
Really tough.
Now I saw the pieces that you put in Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the day it got to me because Anthony Bourdain, he also killed himself that day.
Yeah.
And I was a fan of his because I'm really into food.
Yeah.
I love exploring and eating.
Yeah.
And then he died, and also my friend left the day before, so it was so hard.
Yeah.
Every pedal was just really, it was just painful emotionally, and felt like there was a very, very heavy weight on my chest.
Yeah, yeah. And it's also funny when I kind of looked a little bit on the other guy, which goes from Dublin to Delhi. He also, right at the start, he had quite a crisis. And what actually helped him through is the people surrounding him. Really, he put it in that way, kind of 90% is what's happening around you. That kind of gets into your mind, and then you can come quite over it, whatever happens then.
Yeah, it was amazing. And the odd circumstances of people that I met the whole way, they could immediately tell that my friend had some trouble.
Yeah.
And instantly upon meeting me, I had some people approach me and take me to the side and say, "Is your friend okay?"
Yeah.
And I looked at them and I said, "How can you tell?" And they said, "Well, he doesn't look right."
Yeah.
And I want to know if you're okay. So, you know, when you're in this cycling mindset, I don't know, it's something magical, something, it crosses all cultures. People can read you better.
Yeah.
People have a sense. They look at you and they could just tell, I need to ask him if he's okay or if he needs help or something. It's amazing. And I only find it when I'm on the road in this type of environment. When you live in a city, it disappears.
Yeah, once 3 or 4 years ago, I went for a meditation in a Zen meditation. And the thing was that we couldn't talk the whole 3 days, so we were just silent. And once I got back from this meditation, the funny thing is that you really get, I would say, a bit more aware of what happens around you. You are a bit more sensitive of what's happening in a good way. And I can imagine, you know, if you cycle for 90 miles, 100 miles like that, you're just so super focused, almost in a tunnel. And this kind of liberates you from all the noises that you usually would have, you know, when you, as you say, in a city, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
And Tia is doing well.
Tia.
Yeah.
Yes. Tia is my bike, and she is she's a beast. Yeah, she's very strong, heavy, and very, very powerful. And now, after 1,300 miles, I've got my legs back, and I feel I can do much further. It's just I have to come to terms with I can't control everything. So the weather, Mother Nature is preventing me from really getting some mileage. But I guess that's part of what you learn. Is you can't be impatient on the road.
Yeah.
So I got to listen to my body, listen to what I can do, and then also read the environment to see if it stops being enjoyable, then it becomes too sadomasochistic. It becomes too much torture.
Yeah, yeah. So what brought you to the idea to do this? I mean, I feel it's totally fascinating to going almost the whole continent down to Ushuaia. What brought you to the idea to make this really long route?
So I initially got into cycle touring in 2007. So I went and I had a very tough year. I was living in Denmark, and I decided to take a break in the summer of 2006. And in a strange circumstances, I met a girl at a bar. I was a bartender in Newhound, and it's a very touristy area. And she came into the bar in Copenhagen and says, "I want to buy drinks for everybody." And if you know, Denmark, alcohol is not cheap.
Yeah,
So I was very surprised. I said, "There's a lot of people here. You want to buy drinks for everybody?" And she says, "Yes." So I made sure she paid me first, and then I said, "What's the celebration? Because this is significant." And she says, "I'm finally doing something that I've been dreaming of for years. I'm going to walk the Jakobsweg,
yeah,
El Camino de Santiago."
yeah,
And I never heard of it. And I go, "Wow, okay." And she was a little woman. And I thought, "You're going to walk across Spain? And how many days?" She's like, "About 30, 31 days. I'll walk across Spain." And it's just been a dream of mine. And that just made me very, very envious and puzzled, because I thought, if this little lady could do it, I could do it. And what the hell am I doing just upset during this tough summer? I should just quit my job and do it.
yeah.
So 2 weeks later, I actually quit my job, and I went to Paris, and then took a train to Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port. And before I knew it, I was walking the Camino.
Yeah.
So that trip was so amazing. It was just I experienced the first time this phenomenon called the love bubble.
Yeah.
It's like you connect with people in a way that you don't even have to speak with them, and they know what you're thinking.
Yeah.
And they'll talk to you. They approach you, just as I mentioned earlier, when people approached me and asked me if my friend was okay. This is what the first time I experienced it on the Camino. But it took me 31 days to get to Santiago de Compostela. And then after that trip, I thought, well, I loved it. It was amazing. It was incredible, but it took a long time. I'd like to do that. I'd like to experience this again, but I think I need to make it a little faster. So a bicycle would allow me to do this faster. So I went and I bought a bicycle, and for some reason, Iceland was in my head.
Oh.
So from Denmark, I went and I flew to Iceland, and then I rode the entire country, the whole ring road. There's one circle road, and that was my first cycling trip. I never did it before ever, and I did it alone in 14 days. And I did 1,000 miles, and I thought, oh my God, wow, this is amazing. I said, I just saw the entire country in 14 days, and I've really seen it. I saw every nook and cranny. I met people on the road. We had spontaneous interviews and emotional experiences. It was amazing. And then I was addicted. So from 2007 onward, I decided, okay, I'm going to do these big, long trips. And although sometimes they seem fast, 14 days on a bike, when you do the whole country, it seems fast, but it's actually, you're spending 6 to 9 hours on the bike every day, and you have so much time to think and so much time to just explore everything about the country. And then you meet people at the perfect time. They just approach you, they come up, say hello, and invite you to their home, share a meal. I just thought it was amazing. So I've been addicted to cycle touring since then. And so the reason my bicycle is named Tia is from Santiago.
Okay.
Santiago. So
okay.
Tia is to remind me of how I got started on this journey.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Very cool. Yeah, for me it was, I have a friend of mine who's working with me, and he went with his son the whole of Japan with the bike. And I thought already, this is quite fascinating that he goes with his son. I think the son was about 17 years old. And I think at the max they almost did 200 kilometers, or I don't know, that's probably 130 something miles on one day.
Yeah.
And I thought that's pretty fascinating. Also in terms of bonding between the son and the father, I think it was totally fascinating. I have also 2 kids, but they don't like biking at the moment at all. If I tell them we go biking, then it's total strike. There is nothing you can do about it. And I'm almost kind of working probably since 10 years in the company I'm working now. and now we get kind of some extra holidays. And first we wanted to go to Australia, and I grew up in Costa Rica, so I know Spanish. And then I thought, and 3 years ago I was also in Colombia, and then I thought, but if I can choose, I wouldn't go to Australia. I'd rather go to Latin America. That's more where my heart is going. And I told it my wife, and she said, let's put the plan together. And then I went through all Central America and looked up all the nice places, and suddenly I went lunching with a girl who traveled the whole of Latin America. I told her I'm going with my family, going to Central America. And then she said 3 times, "Are you sure you want to go with the family to Central America?" And then sort of, I already had a notion that's a little bit dangerous, but I thought, somehow you get around that. But when she said it 3 times, then I took it a bit more seriously. And on that note, you also know where you're going, right? I mean, what are your thoughts? Central America is sort of the hotspot, if you like. And maybe a lot of it is triggered by the news, but I saw also that you had a picture of an angel of yours who gave you some tool. I couldn't identify what it is, but I guess he had in mind that at one point you're going to be in Central America.
Yeah, it's mixed. It's 50-50. Because even now, 50% of the people I meet, even Mexicans, they tell me, "Oh my God, it's so dangerous. What are you doing?"
Yeah.
And they try to warn me, "Stay away from here, and don't." Oh, I guess there's a dog behind me.
It sounds like a little one.
They say, yeah, the Chihuahuas are there, most aggressive. But I'm off the ground on the hammock, so you can't reach me. So the Mexicans would tell me, "Oh, don't camp in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Never camp without anybody knowing where you are, because people do know where you are. If you don't tell anybody where you are, then it becomes a little bit more dangerous." So I was concerned, and I told people here, like where I'm staying, and they tell me, "Oh no, those are mentiras. Those are lies.
Yeah.
That it's very, very safe. That no one's going to hurt you. That these are just people who are afraid of life, and they're losing connection with humanity." And so you just got to go with kind of your senses. Mm-hmm. I'm overly secure. I'm overly, I guess, paranoid. But if I do feel uncomfortable, I just talk to people. I go up to a house, and I try to see if they have a family.
Yeah.
And I knock on the door, and I ask them, "Is there possible for me to throw my tent in your yard?"
Yeah.
Because I'm afraid. I just want to be safe. And if they have children, then sometimes they're very happy, and they say, "Yeah, please, it's very safe. You can pitch your tent here." Of course, I'm a bearded guy and a little bigger, so I don't get invited into the home so much. A Dutch friend of mine who's 20 years old and redhead, he's riding right now in Mexico, and everybody invites him into their home because he looks so innocent. But I get the yard, and I'm happy with it. That's fine. But I am trying to be as cautious as I can. There are a lot of new groups ever since the unfortunate murders of the Polish guy and the German guy in Chiapas.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you heard about that.
No.
But that happened in April. It was a deliberate murder of 2 cyclists, and that hasn't happened in a long time. So now there's a new Mexican groups that opened up, and I'm a member of one, and they check on you daily. They write you on WhatsApp, and they say, "How are you? Are you okay? Where are you going? Let us know so that we can check up on you." And if you don't contact them in 3 days, they actually start writing you and asking, "Where are you? Are you okay? Do you need help?"
Okay.
So the cycling community is starting to wake up here, and people are very, very nice. And I've been stopped on the road, and people have asked me, "It's very dangerous here. Do you have water? Don't camp over here, and be careful of that." So you feel that people are looking out for you.
Okay.
I don't want to fear it so much that I become a prisoner. If I highly doubt that someone's going to just murder me. Yeah. If if they're gonna rob me, they could take everything. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's just a bicycle at the end of the day.
Exactly,
It is a special bike, but I don't carry much. If they want my stinky clothes or my dirty sleeping bag, then sure, go ahead, take it. And even if they take my bicycle, it's a one of a kind. A friend built it, so it will be found. If they try to ride it, somebody in the community will take a picture, and it'll probably be in the newspaper. They will find the bike.
Yeah.
There's no need for them to do this. I'll just give everything up. So I'm hoping that I just don't meet a maniac who wants to deliberately inflict harm.
Yeah.
But I can't live my life in fear. I really want to explore and see everything there is about all of Latin America.
Yeah.
So I got to do it.
Yeah, let's see what happens. That's the thing. I also, when people, I think last week, there's this Tour de Suisse going on now in Switzerland, or a week ago. Well, it's probably still going on. And then we had the chance to train with one of the teams. And then one of the team directors, I told him the story that I'm going to do this journey, and then the natural reaction, how dangerous, have you really thought about that, and so on. And then I say, look, what I'm going to do is, I know Spanish, so before I even start the ride, I go to the guys there, wherever I am, and say, buena idea or estúpida idea. And if they tell me stupid idea, then then we know what we're doing. So.
Yeah.
From your name,
yeah, pretty much.
Are you also a Spanish descendant, or do you even speak Spanish?
Yeah, no. So my Spanish is okay. It was actually my first language.
Yeah.
I'm Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
And my parents are both Puerto Rican. But as you know, in the United States, Puerto Rico hasn't been treated very well, especially after the hurricane.
Yes. Yeah.
The United States didn't want anything to do with it, and we lost a lot of people. But I was born in the U.S. because the hospitals are better, and my mother and father moved to the U.S. because there were more jobs and opportunities.
Yeah.
So I grew up in the U.S., and I stopped speaking Spanish because in school they told me that I needed to speak English because I'm in America.
Yeah, yeah.
And they back in the 80s, they didn't. Well, they still don't, but they don't. There's a lot of racism in the U.S.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people categorize you, and people put labels on you. And because I had an accent when I spoke English, they knew that I was not one of them, you know? So I made myself try and speak English only, and I never really enjoyed schools in the U.S. at all.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I turned, when I was old enough, I turned 20, I moved to Denmark for education.
Yeah.
And it was different. It opened up my eyes to a different world.
Yeah.
I guess a world of less hate.
Yeah.
But one of the motivating factors that makes me travel so much is escaping the closed-mindedness of the United States.
Yeah.
It's a big country, but nobody wants to go anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just want to stay. They just want to stay where they are, and they think that their little world is perfect.
Yeah.
And I always knew that there was a bigger world out there, and that there's some amazing countries. So growing up the way I did just kind of motivated me to see more, to learn more. But yes, I am Puerto Rican, and my Spanish is okay. I need to improve it, but it's getting better each week.
And I have two years time now, so that won't be a problem. And you're not going to a place where people wouldn't speak to you. So I think, especially when I was 3 years ago in Colombia, I mean, there was so much energy when you're around those people. So it really, the thing flowed. It's not kind of just first checking out who is that. It's just, it flows right away. So I think that's...
Oh, yeah, I went to Medellin in 2014, and oh my God, Colombia is great. The people are so friendly, so nice, and they speak fast too. So Puerto Rican Spanish is really quite fast.
Yeah.
And in Colombia, they also speak quite fast. But they were, I have good friends I want to visit. I loved everything about the country, and it destroyed all stereotypes because everybody said Colombia's bad, Colombia's dangerous. No, there was nothing at all that was remotely scary. I've been in scarier situations in the U.S.
Yeah. Yeah.
Colombia was very peaceful, and Medellin was a great city. I look forward to getting there again.
Now, from your daily cycling, there's always this thing about packing, packing the whole bike. And if you look what you packed when you left the US and what you have now, what are the things you totally don't miss that maybe you even kind of put aside because you thought, okay, I really don't need them? Are those, have you used everything, or are there things where you thought, no, I don't need it?
No, okay, so I started April 29th. I have already sent about 16 pounds back. Before I left the U.S., I sent 16 pounds of things back to my brother to hold. I had taken an extra mosquito net because I thought, okay, when I get to Central America, the hotels are going to be cheap enough, maybe $10, that I could rent a hotel, but I'll just sleep under a mosquito net to prevent any malaria or any fevers.
Exactly.
And then as I was riding, I started realizing, well, I could just put my tent up in the room, and that's a mosquito net. Because after so many hours of working on, riding this heavy bike, I was thinking, well, this is stupid. Why am I carrying another mosquito net? My tent is a mosquito net. Yeah. I'll just sleep in my tent in the room. And then, so I sent that back. I started sending clothes back I didn't need it. Oh, I brought a very fancy, and it was so stupid, a very expensive camera, video camera, on a gimbal. So it had an electronic stabilizer.
Yeah, exactly.
And I thought, I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna use this. Just gonna make good videos. No, after 800 miles, I'm like, I didn't use this once. I'm using my phone for everything. My phone is for video. My phone is for pictures. There's no need for me to carry this very expensive piece of machinery, because the day I pull it out is probably the day someone's going to rob me.
Exactly.
Because they see this.
Exactly.
I have this expensive piece of equipment. I sent that back, and of course that was like 5 pounds. And so I just started realizing that trivial things. Oh, I also brought a tiny fishing pole. A very expensive, small fishing pole, because I thought I love to fish, and this is going to be fun if I ride somewhere I could fish. After 800 miles, I realized I'm never going to pull this out. And if I need to get a fishing pole, I could just ask someone to borrow their fishing pole. A fisherman will let me use one for free, or I could just go to the store and probably buy one very cheap, or make one with fishing line. So there's no need for me to carry this $500 fishing pole. So I set that one back. And now, when I get to Cabo, my cousin is actually flying from the U.S. to meet me in Cabo San Lucas. And I'm going to give him some things, because I don't need a couple things that I have right now. I'm not using them, and I want to get rid of them. So I keep downgrading. But now I'm getting to kind of the bare minimum. I do need the warm clothes, because it will start to get cold in maybe 2 months. So I need to carry some of the technical equipment that I know is going to be hard to find. I have a couple pieces that are very warm but very lightweight. They're just kind of puffy. And I'm going to get rid of some things that, because really this phone is amazing. The phone is also my camera. If it's one crucial piece of equipment, the phone is the most critical. Because it takes all the pictures. And I'm not a professional photographer, and I don't really intend to make that my career. So it's okay that I don't carry a professional camera with me. I just take pictures on my Samsung. So
it's doing a good job. At least I like your pictures. When I kind of was just flipping your Instagram account, and it was really joyful. I also thought when you kind of were going down from saddle, there was one point where you had these gummy bear soldiers in the route, which obstructed you the route. And I thought that was Pretty cool idea.
Well, actually, I didn't put that there. Someone in the morning, they made that
Okay.
on the route.
Okay.
and I found it, and I thought this deserves a picture because somebody put a lot of care and thought in making that gummy bear army. Yeah, that was good. A lot of it's like some people, and it's everywhere in every country. Even you could be in New Zealand, or you could go to Canada, or you could go to Washington State, or here in Mexico. People will do little things that only a cyclist would know, like realize.
Mm-hmm.
So you could be on the road, and then you look over, and you can tell that somebody put that there with the intention to just be funny for somebody on a bike. And it takes a lot of thought and care, but it's universal. It's a universal thing that brings, I think, travelers and cyclists specifically together.
Yeah.
To have like an internal joke.
Yeah. No, that was a very nice one. I loved it when I saw it.
Yeah, that's good.
Do you talk German?
No, I did live in Bochum.
Yeah.
When I dated a German girl for a while, but I stopped learning German.
Yeah, I'm asking because when I went through it, I saw this Schweinhaus Biergarten, and then suddenly I saw a German sentence, and my mother tongue is German, so I read it through, and it's exactly what happens at the Biergarten, and then I thought, but Javier, does he speak German?
No, well, I lived in Denmark for 8.5 years, and I love Germany a lot. So I went to Germany so many times.
Yeah.
I've been to Oktoberfest 4 times. I've traveled all over to Cologne and all the little festivals that they have in different little cities. So I know a lot about the kind of rivalries between towns and the little cultural differences between certain communities.
Yeah.
And I still have a lot of German friends, so whenever I have an ability to remember something, I'll point it out just to make note of my fondness for Germany.
Yeah. So from the journey you had since now, what were the highlights that you had since now?
I would say riding across the desert from Tijuana, the first time I saw the Sea of Cortez. So when we rode down, we got to Ensenada, and in Ensenada, you have an option. You can go south on the 1, which is a very busy road. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people said, don't do that way. It's too busy, too many cars, too much traffic. Yeah. They said, take the 3 across Baja, and that'll lead you to the 5, and then go down this less traveled way towards San Felipe. And so we decided to do that, and that was very, very difficult. We basically rode straight into the desert, and the temperatures were over 100 degrees. And at that point, I wasn't checking. I was with my buddy, so I was more focused on motivating him. And all my energy was just motivating him. In the mornings, I would be like, you got to do this. We're going to do this. It was like a 2-hour pep talk every morning. Yep. But then on this one day, I decided to leave him for the first time. And that was the day that we rode into San Felipe. And we were told we have to get to San Felipe on that day because the Baja 500 race was the next morning. Yep. And there's going to be a lot of traffic, a lot of big, crazy cars, and so much action on the road that we couldn't ride on that day. It was going to be dangerous. So I was determined to get 67 miles to San Felipe, but that's 67 miles in 100-degree weather. And so we're riding, and I was alone for a long time, maybe 2 hours. My buddy was really far behind. And you come over out of this dry lake bed So you're climbing forever to get out of this lake bed. That's a couple thousand years old. And you go over this mountain, and then you see the Sea of Cortez. You see the water. And that's the highlight so far of the trip, because when I saw the Sea of Cortez, it was just so hot, and then I saw it, and then I started giggling and laughing, and I go, the sea is there. I've actually made it to the sea. I've crossed the desert, and I made a couple videos. I didn't post them, but they were emotional videos, because that kind of thing makes you cry on the road.
Yeah.
It just gives you like a kick. And then I put on the music I like, some of the songs I like, and there's a song by Edward Sharp, and it's called "Man on Fire."
Yeah.
And I play that a lot in the desert, because I feel like I'm a man on fire. I feel like I'm burning up in the desert. So I put that song on, and then I cruised all the way to the Sea of Cortez, and then I waited for my buddy to catch up, and we rode into San Felipe together. So that's the highlight of the trip so far. That day was great.
Now, if you just look in the nearer future, what are kind of the things that you can't wait to see? What are the things you anticipate that you put on your plan and think, wow, when I get there, that will be really cool?
Well, so the nearest one is getting to Cabo. Cabo is like a big thing.
Yeah.
It's more, not so much, I've been to Cabo before. It's more to meet my cousin who's flying down to meet me.
Yep.
And I just want to meet my cousin and reconnect. And then, because I've been talking, and this trip has kind of reconnected me with the family again.
Yeah.
Since my mother and father split up, the cousins were on my father's side, and we never were really close.
Yeah.
But doing this trip kind of reconnected me with one cousin, and now he's flown to see me in San Diego.
Yeah.
And now he's going to fly and see me in Cabo, and he's going to fly and see me in El Salvador too, because his wife is from El Salvador.
Yeah.
So getting to Cabo is going to be a good couple days, drinking with him, celebrating, and I'm looking forward to that. But like the big achievements, Mexico City. I hear that. Yeah, I hear that. Well, Mexico City, I believe, is the biggest city in the world.
Yep.
Still.
Yep.
And so I'm going to be riding into Puerto Vallarta, and I'm going to chill there for a couple weeks, because this heat is so intense.
Yeah.
I want to let it get cool. And then from Puerto Vallarta, I'm going to go into Guadalajara and then go into Mexico City.
Yeah.
And that is a gigantic mountain. It's an enormous climb.
I know, it's 26 kilometers. I'm going the same route, so I'm already looking forward to that one.
That is going to be a spiritual moment, because once I get to the top of that mountain, I'm going to be able to look down and see Mexico City and how gigantic it is.
Yeah.
Hopefully the clouds won't be covering it. Hopefully I get a good image, and then I get to cycle all the way down into the biggest city in the world, and I'm going to spend 2 weeks eating in Mexico City.
Yeah.
Because there's so much different food there.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and get a local tour with a kind of a food blogger on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I want to try everything.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to Mexico City.
Yeah. Yeah, when you are in Puerto
And
Vallarta.
after
Go ahead.
Oh, after that, I think the big ones will be there's salt flats in Bolivia.
Yeah, I'm also looking forward to that one. Yeah.
That one's going to be a big one. And then, of course, Medellin, because of my friends. That's going to be a good one. And then I really hope to look forward to working with people. So in Oaxaca, after Mexico City, I'm going back to Oaxaca. And in Oaxaca, I know a family of a guy that I met in California, and he's going to connect me with them. They have a farm, so I'm going to go work on the farm, and then I'm going to go to the market and help them sell vegetables and whatnot, and hopefully we get to kill a pig and roast it and make chicharrones. And I love learning about all that stuff.
Yep.
So I really want to cook with some of these people. So I haven't met them yet, but I think after we do meet, I'm going to get some great opportunities to learn how to cook mole and cook some traditional foods, and if possible, maybe even help them out on the farm for some days a week. I kind of want to. I look forward to working with these, I guess, in these traditional ways.
Yeah.
Those are some big highlights.
Tell them at the one point a Swiss guy is going to come and he wants to learn how tamales are cooked.
Oh yeah, of course. And tamales are made different in every country.
Yeah, I know.
So
I love these guys.
We gotta learn how to make them Mexican style, Guatemalan style, El Salvador, everything.
Cool. When you are in Puerto Vallarta, I don't know, have you heard of this restaurant, Café des Artistes?
No.
It must be a marvelous place because I saw that you are a total foodie guy. Café des Artistes, check it out when you're in Puerto Vallarta. At least I know I'm going to go there.
You gotta text me that so I can get the spelling right.
I give you the link and then you have it. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, my buddy has an apartment in Puerto Vallarta, so I'm gonna be staying at his place. So that's gonna be a good resting point, just to recoup. Because apparently I didn't time it right. I should have started earlier because these are the hottest. This is like the hottest month. May, June, and July are the hottest months. So I didn't really count on the long stretches of nothingness in the desert.
Yeah.
Maybe that was just a little bit of naiveness, but it is definitely tough. So, when are you starting?
I'm starting on the 26th of October. So on 27th of October, I'll be in Puerto Vallarta. And then the plan until now is just Mexico. So I also go from Puerto Vallarta, Guadalajara. And then I think in November there is there's a butterfly, a marshal butterfly. And they go to a certain place which is nearby Mexico City. Where a whole forest is plenty of them. I think there are 25 million or more of those butterflies in there, and then you almost don't see the forest anymore. You just see butterflies. So I'd like to see that one.
Michoacan. I think it's Michoacan. I'm not sure, but yeah, I know that butterfly place.
It's on Santuario, but I have no idea how it is called. I have to look what my plans are, but I have no idea how it is called. But it's somewhere between Guadalajara and Mexico City. And then, probably I also go Oaxaca, Chihuahua, and then over to Yucatan. And then from there into Belize. That's the idea. Then let's see where we get. And when I was doing the planning, it told me I have 26 kilometers of height difference. So that's the thing that worries me a bit.
What worries you?
The height difference of the plan I was doing is about 26 kilometers. So I will go up 26 kilometers.
Yeah. Well, what bike are you riding?
I have a guy in Basel, and he made a bike for me. So it's a custom-made bike. He sort of has his own brand, Highlight Bike, and then he made me a bike.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I have a custom made too, but is it steel?
No, it's titanium.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's better. It's lighter. Mine's pretty heavy.
Let's see. I think the only thing where they say it has a drawback is if something happens, then it's difficult to find someone who can then put it together again. But
the same thing with aluminum. Yeah. If you have a like a Koga World Traveler, a Dutch bike, and it breaks, you can't. Not many people can do TIG welding for aluminum.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's see, and then we put we put a gearbox in there, which is pinion, and this pinion sort of, you don't have a chain, but you have a carbon belt. And I didn't want to go with chain, so I don't have this maintenance of the chain during the travel. So I think that's.
Will this be your longest? Will this be your longest trip?
Yeah, it will be my longest trip, definitely. Yeah. I
Have
never
you
did.
toured with this bike before?
Yeah, I'm going around Switzerland with it. And
Okay.
we have now a group where I'm working. We have a group where we kind of frequently do some things. Now, I think 1 week from now, we go to Lake Constance, and then we go all around Lake Constance, and that's about 210 kilometers a day. So we want to do it in a day. Let's see where we get. At least it won't be as hot as you have it now in Mexico. That's the good news.
Oh no, yeah. Oh, if I was in Switzerland, I could like 100. The longest I've ever done in a day, and it wasn't a flat day. It actually had some mountains, but I probably went about 11 hours and 125 miles in one day.
Yeah.
That's quite a lot.
Yeah.
But and I was carrying gear, fully loaded. So yeah, if you have a light bike and you're carrying minimal gear, and you could be glamping, like staying in hotels,
Exactly.
not
Yeah.
in tent.
Exactly.
Yeah, you could go really, really far.
Yeah.
So,
As also the guy who sold
especially
me
with the good weather.
Yep. As also the guy who kind of sold me the bike, he often goes to Thailand, and there he just brings his credit card with him and one dress. That's it, and then he goes from hotel to hotel and enjoys himself. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's.
Oh, I love Thailand. Thailand's amazing. After I cycled New Zealand, I did all of New Zealand in 4.5 months, and then I went to Thailand, and it took me. I went to Chiang Mai. I rented a condo for $250 a month. I had a whole big condo,
Wow.
and then it took me 1 month and a half, going 3 times a week, to get Thai massage to loosen my legs. My legs were so tight, and so there were so many knots that Thai massage is not easy. It's very, very painful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had this guy work on me 3 times a week, and it took a month and a half. And after a month and a half, he took his elbow and he put it right into my thigh and rubbed it really hard. I didn't feel any pain. And he looks at me and he tries to do it again, and no pain. And he goes, "This is what relaxed muscles feel like." He goes, "You shouldn't feel pain. You shouldn't be crying when I touch you. But now you're good." And I felt it was great. I felt loose. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Incredible. So Thailand's the place to go after you do a big trip.
So once you're in Ushuaia, then you go to Thailand. Is that the plan?
Well, the thing is, and I've talked to people about this. People warn you, and they warn me. They say, when you do a big trip like this, you have the potential to go kind of extreme and never come back.
Yeah.
So they say when you get to Ushuaia after a year and a half or 2 years, you might just jump on a boat or take a flight to South Africa and keep riding.
Yeah.
And some people have done this. And I at first I said, "Oh no, I wouldn't do that. No." And riding a year of this, there's a good chance. There's a chance. I'd say it's probably a 40% chance. If I get to Ushuaia and then I start talking to some people down there, because there's people from all over the world who sail there.
Yeah.
If they'd let me crew, and if you know what crewing is, you jump on the boat, you clean it, you work on the boat. If they let me crew and they're going to Africa, I could join them.
Yeah.
I could join them and go to Africa, and then I'll cycle up to Nordkamp, the furthest city north in Norway. So we'll see.
The funny thing is, when I kind of first came up with the idea, I went hiking in the Swiss mountains, and then I met someone who does mountain marathon, a girl. She's about 56 years old, thin like that, and she went up that mountain in a speed really, really speedy. I was kind of behind. And then we started talking about the plan that I have to do this trip, you know. And then the first thing she said is, yeah, we know someone who kind of did exactly the same thing. He went down to Ushuaia and then he went over to South Africa. And then from South Africa, he went up to almost Syria. And before Syria, he was calling up, you know, and say, yeah, he's coming back, and now he's going through Syria, you know. And then the guys were telling him, don't you have any internet or anything? And he, no clue. Don't go through Syria. It's civil war there. Don't go there. So it might well happen. And even at the work I'm working now, a colleague of mine said, yeah, once you're in Ushuaia, you know, maybe you take the ship and go to Antarctica then afterwards, because my husband did it as well. Same as you said, he also went crewing and looked for a Russian boat, and the Russian boat was filled with Russian divers, and then they went over to Antarctica. So I love it.
Well, I'm looking forward to I do want to go to Antarctica, but if I don't crew, if I don't find someone to take me, they charge $6,500 to go from Ushuaia to Antarctica.
Yeah, that's
it's
a lot.
Extremely expensive.
That's a lot.
So I'm going to try and hitch a ride and get to Antarctica. I just would like to throw my bike on the island and say I've done this continent too.
I'm sure. I mean, if you have patience and you have the time, then you definitely get there.
Yeah.
I mean, the other guy also, I think he was about 2 or 3 weeks in Ushuaia. It took a little bit of time, but then at one point this Russian came along, and then he went there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Javier, I think now kind of the soccer game is starting between Portugal and Spain. So I hate to stop because it's very exciting, and if you're okay, maybe a couple of weeks later on, I contact you again and we can continue the conversation. Is that fine with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. And if you need anything, if I can support you with anything, just drop me a message. I'm fine to do that, you know. Tell me where you need something, and you can get it. So.
Sweet. And hey, send me the messages of any restaurants you know of, okay?
Yep, I'll
go there.
Yep.
Okay, great.
We have a lot of
things. Nice to meet you.
We have a lot of things in common. I mean, I just tell you, I had also an accident when I was in '97 where I broke my neck. So a little bit similar what happened to your legs. And I'm a total foodie guy. So I love food. I love cooking it. I love eating it. So.
Okay, cool.
And probably if we can keep track, then maybe we even meet each other somewhere on this huge trail.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Cool.
Okay, great.
It was good to meet you, Javier.
Yeah, likewise.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm a man on fire, walking through your street with one guitar and 2 dancing feet. Only one desire that's left in me, on the whole damn world to come dance with me. Oh, come dance with me. Over murder and pain, come set you free. Over heartache and shame,